All right, hey, welcome everyone. This is Fridays with Freddie. We're calling it the weekend edition because thanks to planes, trains, automobiles, and flight delays, Fred is finally back home, safe in the Dominican Republic. Fred, welcome on. Let's continue our discussion on AI. Right, we set some things up. You've got some hot news topics you want to make sure our listeners are aware of. Let's jump into that and then a practical application of AI in the workplace.
Sure. Good morning, everyone. Yeah, let's talk about some AI news. I saw two things that is of interest, and one of them will also set up a further conversation we'll have about governance. So the first news that I saw, remember that ASU GSV occurred a couple of months ago, and Google made
Yeah.
made some pretty dramatic announcements with their Google Learn language model. So they're starting to develop language models now just for education. So one of the first announcements they made, and then OpenAI was right behind there, was omni-channel AI. So it's not just text, it's voice, but also pointing your phone at something and being able to do actions with that. What was pretty phenomenal, there was a demo that Google was doing where they showed how you can take, if a student takes notes, you can take a picture of the notes, upload it into Google AI, and it will create a summary of it, but then through voice, have a teacher walk you through the notes and say, hey, let's create a quiz. Let's dive deeper into a particular topic. So it's pretty phenomenal. So I encourage everyone to kind of look at it. They're called Google Gems and at Google Learn. So it's very, very interesting stuff. And it just kind of shows you how fast things are going.
How fast? This was your point last week.
Right. And I think that's why the second news item that I wanted to talk about is kind of relevant, which is at this point, you also as an IT department, as an institution, you need to start becoming aware of who's using generative AI in your institution, right? And what kind of data they're using to feed their models. So found a very interesting article. As you know, Anthology is a friend of Beyond, is a vendor of student information systems. And they actually came out with a AI policy framework that they published on their website. What's interesting about them is that they took the three main frameworks that are available in the world today, which is NIST. NIST is an agency of the Department of Commerce, which is called National Institute for Technology and Standards, I believe it is. They have a particular framework. The EU AI framework just came into effect in July of this year. And the OECD has had some frameworks and some guidelines and principles for the last couple of years. So they kind of took those three and created a policy framework that schools can look at and adopt. And as you know, at Beyond, we're very big on start developing a point of view. You don't need to be an expert, but you definitely need to create a point of view, and you need to know where your risk is, right? So just to demonstrate also the power of AI, I commit in this podcast today that I'm going to create a Beyond guide for to creating an AI policy framework, at least a starting.
So it's basically a tool that schools can use to build their own framework, right?
Correct.
It'll be kind of like a guiding document from you.
Correct. Yeah. So I'll create that today. I'll add the links and everything, and we can share it out. I'll see if I can find an AI that can take that content and pretty it up, but just to show you how fast you could do these things.
And that's the operative word, right? You said today, as in not 6 weeks, 10 weeks, or 6 months. Because of AI, you're going to knock it out today. So phenomenal. Can't wait. And then we'll just share it on the website. Maybe we'll put it as a blog post and share the link on. Everyone can go access it for free.
Yep. Sounds good.
Cool. So that's it. That's in the news, Fred. Now let's transition to kind of probably what the next few weeks are going to be is finding use cases, very practical use cases in higher ed, right? Where everyday people on campus can start using AI to make their jobs better. And I think today we're going to talk how to use it in running projects or project management. So we're going to invite our very own Ro, who leads our project management and project success, to just chat with you, Fred, about how he's using it. So Ro, come on stage. And Fred, you could take it from here.
So, Ro, one of the things that we heard in just casual confirmation at the casual conversation last week was that one of the Beyond members that has had project management work was saying that it used to take him weeks to create particular plans, and then he was working with you, and he was able to knock it out. You guys were able to knock it out in an hour. Maybe you could expand on that. How is that possible?
It's only possible through ChatGPT and AI right now. Yeah, definitely, because what I went through with him, I could not have done before as well in that amount of time. Because doing all the planning that happens within project management, such as creating the proposals, the charters, project plans, that could take weeks, especially if it's a big project. And so the way that we were able to leverage this and how I showed this person was that in ChatGPT, I used its chat box. And I created a chatbot that's specific to being a project manager. So it's my project manager assistant. It knows the PMI workflows, proposals, all those good things that we like to use in project management. And so when I've trained it, I also fed a knowledge base. And in the knowledge base, I gave it information of how I want it to talk to me, what I want it to do in terms of layout and form. And what we were able to do was pick a previous proposal that we liked that works well for this specific section, and we gave it that knowledge base. So this way it has that information to pull from. So when we give it our requirements and all the information, it just goes through and spits it out like in 30 seconds. And then
Right.
you also are able to give it such detailed instructions to say, okay, now ask me another question that helps support this if I'm missing something. And so it helps catch all that good stuff that you're able to just go step by step by step. And at the end, it gives you what you need.
Okay.
So Fred, how does this apply what Ro's doing in project management? Put your higher ed hat on and say, what are some people in higher ed that should be and could be doing this in their day-to-day job and being that much more efficient and that much more productive?
I think there's two main use cases. First of all, there's the well-funded, well-staffed universities. We talked about them, right? Meaning they have a project management office, a portfolio office. They could start using this the exact same way that we do it, Joe, which is getting to solutions faster. Right. So instead of having a project that goes on for months and months and months, because you're setting up a lot of the project management stuff, you could start to condense that and then spend more time on actually solutioning for the client. And I would say for the smaller schools that don't necessarily have a professional PMO, but do usually have somebody that's running projects and using some PMI project management principles, they can now start using this to actually level up dramatically on how they run a project. Because like Rose says, you're getting almost an extra employee, right? You're getting or multiple, a co-assistant, whatever you want to call it.
Well, that's actually the way you should be seeing it, right? That really helps is if you can say, hey, how can I create an assistant, an AI that can do things so much better, but have a bigger knowledge base that can analyze things faster than I can. And so what that will help me do is track the outcomes, track any KPIs, track any issues that I'm not seeing, but because it has so much data in the memory and even consistent outputs that I've given it or inputs that I've given it, it's able to say, hey, did you factor this in there? Because I'm asking it questions and just dialoguing as if it was just me and you, Fred. Right. And so that's the way to see it, not as this technological thing that's kind of in the distance. But if you embrace it as, hey, it's just like a coworker and I'm just dialoguing, going back and forth, you're going to find you're going to get more outputs that you're actually looking for.
Right. So
Ro,
maybe
can I ask
Joe,
you one last question?
Yeah.
Let me ask you one quick question, Ro. You mentioned how you fed the system with kind of that knowledge base early, right, to build your plan. Then over the course of the project, are you feeding it ongoing project stuff and then it's staying with you through the whole project? Or was this just a tool to build your project plan originally?
No, well, that's the nice thing about ChatGPT now. It has a memory, so it's able to keep all your conversations that you've had in the past that's related to that specific project. And it can say, oh, yeah, remember this, and then I'm like, oh, that's right, or I can say, hey, 3 weeks ago, I remember doing this. Tell me what we did. And then it will go through as long as I'm putting it in that knowledge base and having the conversations. And for me, I'm using ChatGPT every day, like almost every hour, because with all the multiple projects, I'm able to do more than what I've used to be able to do because I know how to capitalize on how to use AI, whether it's ChatGPT or whether it's, Claude. And now Claude has projects. So that's another thing. But I guess one thing I want to state, because I'm sure people are probably asking, but privacy, what about privacy?
Yeah.
Having my data in the LLM, I don't want it to feed. But ChatGPT released a Teams membership. So one person in the whole company, if they're just using ChatGPT, you can do Teams instead of an enterprise package. And this allows that specific person to use it until everybody else comes on board and starts to use it, right? So that's the way that's what awesome. I'm doing here.
So Joe, maybe I think just listening to Ro, I think there might be appetite, and maybe our viewers and listeners can add a comment, but I think a workshop on this might actually be very interesting. And just to do a
for
deeper
Ro to
dive.
kind of share his
Yes.
screen and show them the tools. Because Ro, it's not just GPT, right? You're using 5 or 6 different tools.
Right.
One for when you're running meetings that recaps your meetings for you, and then that one that streamlines that before you send us all the summary email. Yeah, maybe we should. Let's see what interest people have. And if so, Ro, I'm sure you're happy to hop on and do a webcast showing people how you're doing what you're doing. And I think it's going to save people a lot of time. But guys, just one use case in one area of one department where AI can be phenomenally powerful today. We don't have to wait 6 months or 6 years and then kind of build from there. Not to mention, Fred, some of the things you're going to help with the framework and having the strategic leaders think more enterprise level across the institution of the impact it could be. I'm most excited because Ro got a coworker for $10 or $20 a month, right?
Exactly.
Compared to a full-time salary that we would have to fund. So pretty
right.
awesome. All right, Ro, thank you so much. And Fred, any closing thoughts from you as we summarize?
Yeah, just to reemphasize what we've said multiple times, this is going so fast that sometimes it's even, it's almost impossible to think, hey, I'm going to buy a particular AI, or I'm going to partner with a certain vendor who has certain AI capabilities. There's now, things that are proprietary, if you want to call it that. Becoming obsolete because they're becoming part of a Claude or a ChatGPT or Grok, or actually Meta just released a phenomenal LLM as well. So because you can't keep up with the arms race, having your policies, your procedures, and your risk management dialed in is the more important. It's extremely important.
So that's step one. Let's have every institution following us start there. Pick your brain if they have to along the way. And that'll set the stage for all the innovation that's going to come thereafter.
Correct.
Yep. All right. So Fridays with Freddie, weekend edition. Next week, we'll pick right back on this conversation, Fred, and talk about more and more use cases across the campus where AI can be used.
Sounds good. See you next week.
See you, everyone.